the theater, communication is simple.
This is Inside Story with Mark Howard. Our insiders today are Mary Hertig, political activist, Carol Celine of Philadelphia Magazine, political consultant Brian Tierney, and Herb Homer of WWDB Radio. And now, here is Action News senior correspondent Mark Howard.
Good morning. As we go to press, Joe Sicipio is alive and well somewhere in Lebanon. He was given a suspended sentence by the Hezbollah group, which has been holding him for 3 years almost now. That's the front lawn of his brother's house in Norristown. Tom Sicipio changes the numbers on the signs every night. For all of the 9 Americans held hostage, he still has 9 signs. We are working under the assumption that Colonel Higgins, one of them, however, is dead. Tom was on the phone with the State Department several times in the past week, getting the news, as did Mrs. Sicipio, seen here in Lebanon. That's a wedding picture. Joe married a second time to a Lebanese woman. He is, as I said, as we go to press, still alive and well. The question, Irv, is what do we do about hostages, if anything? What can the United States do?
The United States can't do anything about hostages that it hasn't already tried or hasn't tried. I think what happened to this country is we shot ourselves in the foot many years ago when we destroyed an international group of CIA agents that were well-placed, that had full intelligence of what was going on. What happened was the CIA turned around and started investigating Americans instead of investigating and having an intelligence force comparable to Israel. There's 2 worlds. There's a real world that we'd all like to live in, where everything is nice and la-la-la, and there's a real world where there's crazies out there who have no problem at all defying Western civilization. There's another important factor that's never mentioned in this. About 15 years ago, listening to a shortwave radio out of Albania, the Muslim world has declared war on Judaism and Christianity and said they will no longer be placated, that Judaism and Christianity will be the predominant religion of the world, and the Muslims are making their move. This is not only a political war, this is a religious war. And until the Jewish and the Judeo and the Christian world realizes that this is also a religious bunch of zealots that want parity in this world with the atheists of communism, with the Jews of Israel, and with the Christians of the free world, we are going to be in for, and we're not addressing the religious issue in this thing. We can't do anything about it. We haven't done anything.
It's a scary theory. Mary, what do you think? What should the United States do?
It's enormously frustrating for the most powerful nation on earth to be helpless. But that's really the American dilemma in the Middle East. I think the president has shown great restraint, and I applaud that. Dante Frizzell, the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, said we need to know who the terrorists are, and our CIA operations clearly don't know who the leaders are.
We've disemboweled
the
CIA, Mary.
We need to know where our hostages are being held, further evidence that the CIA operation, which basically was decimated in 1983 in Lebanon and has probably never regrouped adequately. And finally, we need to find a way to retaliate, but clearly military intervention, bombing Lebanon to avenge the killing of 1 American, will probably end up killing the other 18 Western hostages. I think time is on our side and we need to wait.
Nothing we can do?
I don't think
That's
so.
not pleasant. Carol, what do you think? What can we do?
Well, I think that the issue of intelligence gathering is a very important one here, and I absolutely agree with both Irv and Mary that we have lapsed terribly in gathering intelligence over. The president even said, we don't know where they are, and I don't think he would have ever said that publicly if he didn't mean it. I think one of the things we must never do is negotiate directly with the terrorists. That would give them a legitimacy that they totally do not deserve. I think the president has been absolutely proper in using diplomacy rather than force. I think we have some little window here with Rafsanjani, the new president of Iran, who seems to want to open a little bit to the West. And if we can use that to our advantage right now, we may be able to move this to a place where then we can think about where do we go from here.
Brian, what do you think?
Like a lot of Americans, I think I'm so tired of having to hope that somebody new whose name I don't even have a hard time pronouncing, like Rafsanjani, that somehow he's the new moderate. We're always waiting for the new moderate to come, and these people are extremists, and it never does come. Many people, myself included, your first reaction is you'd like to find out, let's see what that U.S. 6th Fleet we've invested in is for, pull them up outside of Lebanon and basically do anything you can to put pressure on these people to reduce that country, if we have to ruins, to get our men out. Unfortunately, that, of course, we know we can't do. And President Bush, I think, has done a good job in terms of trying to keep the pressure off of it. One of the things that Jimmy Carter did wrong, I think, was that he made the hostage crisis into such a high level of confusion and concern that really the government was paralyzed. But I've got to make another point, too. The problems we have right now with the CIA really go back to Frank Church and the investigations in the early 70s. And sometimes what's very popular is to denigrate the FBI or to denigrate the CIA. But now we're reaping that harvest of weakening our own intelligence. What we need now in the future to solve problems like this is not just, you know, the CIA gathers information. They don't do that by just, you know, they do that by, unfortunately, you have to do that by bribing. You have to do it by intimidating people for information. We really need to play the game the way the other side plays the game.
The only trouble was, Brian, the CIA was playing that game here in America using end runs around Congress. Had the CIA done their job overseas as the Israeli intelligence done, we would know where the hostages are. We would know who the terrorists are.
Why aren't we getting that
are.
from the Israelis? Why aren't we joining forces with their intelligence?
Because that's the last thing that the United States wants to do, is to have an allegiance with Israel, because that'll create another problem. The Israelis, I guarantee you, the Israelis know where the terrorists are. I guarantee you they know who the terrorists are. They know where the hostages are.
Why do you think they haven't gone in and grabbed their own soldiers who are being held? I can't agree with you.
Look what happens every time Israel makes a move, Mark. Every time Israel makes a move into Lebanon, the first thing that Rafsanjani said and the first thing that the Arab League said in America on Thursday was, Israel has to stop going into Lebanon.
Which brings us to the next question. Now, the minute Sheikh Obeid was taken by Israel, and then Colonel Higgins was killed, whether it was before or what, but they claim it was in retaliation. Senator Bob Dole says Israel did it again. What do you think, Mary? Is he on the right track?
No, that was an outrageous statement by Bob Dole. But if we recollect, a week ago, President Bush did come down pretty hard on the Israelis for exercising the same terrorist activity we've been condemning. A week later, there seems to be a different tone coming out of the administration. And I think what it points to, again, is our lack of good intelligence. We looked at Sheikh Obeid and did not realize that he was probably as important a figure in the Hezbollah as he apparently is. My understanding is that Israel's getting some pretty interesting information out of him, and that's enough reason perhaps to justify his kidnapping.
But there's another point to be made here. The Hezbollah is the creation of Syria,
Iran.
And of Iran. Syria has 40,000 troops in Lebanon. They occupy the area in which the terrorists are holding the hostages. And why Israel is being condemned when Iran and Syria are the ones who actually have supported the Hezbollah. The Soviet Union has
Israel's
been
being condemned
the
any
Soviet
longer.
Union has been the one. The Soviet Union has been the one that put the money up for them, and Israel is the one that is being taken to the...
One last point. Let's get this in before we change subjects here. Which is more important, Brian? Joseph Scipio's life or American foreign policy?
I think, unfortunately, the American foreign policy is more important than any one individual. And I think that that's because American foreign policy affects the lives of 250-some Americans.
Carol, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, first of all, I don't see why they're mutually exclusive.
Right.
But I think that a country is judged by its moral stance, its values. And the value in this country is that every human life is precious. If we are to abandon that, we are no longer the same United States. I disagree with you entirely.
We'll be right back to talk about Bill Lucas, who will not be Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Inside Story continues.
Booze was the most addictive to me.
On the next Sally Jesse Raphael, Sammy Davis Jr., a man nearly consumed with his obsession for superstardom.
When a doctor says, you gonna die, you know, you hurry up and quit a lot of things.
Now he's better than ever.
There's nothing wrong with saying, man, I'm gonna prepare myself, I'm gonna be the best pro I can.
Meet Sammy Davis Jr. on the next Sally.
Watch Sally Jesse Raphael, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow.
This is Jeopardy! It's a great way to start your night. It's fun.
Where is the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
It's risky.
Alex, all of it.
Play along and see if you can question Jeopardy's answers.
Hi, I'm Alex Trebek, inviting you to join us for America's favorite challenge, Jeopardy! Weeknights at 7, right here on Channel 6.
Hey, Philadelphia, the heat is on.
Did you ever watch your kids cooling off on a hot summer day? Did you ever think about the waste? Did you ever think about the danger? What are you going to do when you really need the water?
I need water now.
Tell your kids,
This one's
when you
dry.
mess with hydrants, you're messing with fire.
Hi, I'm Sonny Hill. I run the Sonny Hill Basketball League.
And I'm Speedy Morris, the LaSalle University basketball coach.
The kids of today are the future, and you too can become involved in that future.
Philadelphia Futures is the organization that will help you help a kid.
Share your experience by being a tutor or a role model.
You can donate an achievement prize
or set up a scholarship fund at your old high school.
Call Philadelphia Futures at 790-1666.
Now the ball's in your court.
The Senate Judiciary Committee voted last week not to nominate, not to recommend that this man, William Lucas, be made the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Big flap there. Senator Kennedy was opposed to him. A lot of civil rights leaders in the country opposed to him. A lot of black leaders opposed to him. Joe Biden, Senator Joe Biden, chairing the Judiciary Committee, said that by putting up a black, the Republican Party was being very cynical because they felt that they were trying to pit race against race and badly use a case of a man who Biden said just simply wasn't qualified. He didn't get the job, and here we are debating again a black and white issue, which, as is always the case, Carol, is never black and white. What do you think?
Oh, I'm just so sick of every time there's somebody rejected in Congress here. It's racist, it's partisan. This man was rejected not because of his color. He was rejected because he wasn't competent. I mean, let's face it, a white man with the same qualifications would never have even been nominated. And he kept shooting himself in the foot. At the hearings, they said to him, well, do you think that the civil rights movement has been weakened by some of the Supreme Court recent decisions? And he said, well, I'd have to read those opinions. I mean, I think quite clearly Congress is sending a message to the president. And they're saying, don't send us people for top sensitive jobs who aren't qualified to fill them, period.
You want to hear the other side of this story. You listen to Brian, huh?
Here's Joe Biden. Here's Joe Biden from Delaware, who at age 29 became a senator and really has never had to have a job in his whole life. And here's Joe Biden down there in Washington, D.C., criticizing Lucas. Lucas ran Wayne County. He was the chief executive of that county. 3 times the size of Delaware. He was the chief executive in charge of everything from trash to finance, etc. Lucas, who ran for governor, the Republicans didn't take some no-name and put him up. He was a credible member of the party. He was a credible chief executive who had run a department. Okay, Joe Biden had probably never even written a term paper about the U.S. Senate, and he was a U.S. senator.
No,
wait a second. What really comes down to no, listen, you can't tell me when you have a Democrat like DeConcini flipping over and voting with the Republicans, it was a tie in that. It was not, and it didn't even go down to party lines. I think that showed the fact that here is one Democrat.
None of the blacks supported him. All the black groups that you would have expected.
They're all Democrats. They tried to embarrass the President of the United States. They tried to embarrass Carol. You know it. You know that Jimmy Carter and other people have put in people of a lot less intelligence than Lucas. The question here was an effort to embarrass the President. I think the President has a right to put his people in office. And if the people don't like the Bush team, then in 3 years they won't vote them for re-election.
Brian, let Mary interrupt you now.
Brian.
Yeah.
Go ahead, interrupt me.
Would you, Mr. Lucas was being nominated to head the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, and clearly he was nominated for one credential, and that's the fact that he's black. He's a very competent individual, but not for this job. He's never tried a case. He admits he's new to the law. He didn't know the difference between de jure and de facto segregation. Clearly, that's fundamental to understanding civil rights law.
How about Bobby Kennedy?
I'm not done.
What Bobby Kennedy's experience for Attorney General? When he
had none, and he probably shouldn't have been confirmed, but that's past history. Would you confirm a nominee to head the tax division or the criminal division or the antitrust division who had no legal knowledge of those areas?
Irving, answer the questions.
Don't talk to me about the taxes.
That's another story.
Brian, you know, listening to Brian defend Lucas is like trying to figure out why the Hezbollah decided to postpone Joe DeCipio's extermination. It really boggles
There's a better excuse
for
that.
Brian, is there no conscience within the Republican Party that says, hey, we may have made an error? Was it the same guy who selected Dan Quayle to be the Vice President of the United States that picked Lucas for the Civil Rights Commission? Answer the question. Was it the same guy that picked him up?
It was the same guy.
I rest my case.
All right.
Wait, I want to bring it a little closer to home before we leave it, and that is Senator Specter's role in this. Senator Specter asked some very probing questions of Mr. Lucas during the judiciary hearings. And then a week later, he came out in support. And his statement really, I am very troubled by. He said, It's not important that this man has no mastery of legal technicalities. It's important that in his stomach he knows what racial prejudice is. My goodness, Brian. I mean,
why don't we just find the best law professor then who knows the tech? No, I disagree with you.
That's amazing.
Well,
that's amazing. Robert Bork was denied the appointment to the Supreme Court because he was extremely qualified, and Lucas is now being denied it because he's not, and you're defending both of them. That boggles my mind.
Both of them lost because the Democrats didn't like it.
That boggles my mind.
Let's try the flip side of this argument, though. Now, in Atlantic City, the mayor of the city, a dozen other people are indicted for allegedly taking bribes, etc. Not indicted yet. They will probably be indicted. They have been arrested and charged. And then last Sunday, there's a church gathering in Atlantic City that says James Usry was a victim of racism. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know much about the case except what I read in the papers. We'll know more, according to Albert Black, the detective, the undercover detective, when we hear the tale of the tapes. And until that time, I'm going to reserve judgment. On the face of it, it looks like blatant corruption to me. Is there something the matter with the drinking water in Atlantic City? This is 70 years of corruption.
But the question that I'm trying to get at here, I guess,
it's silly. I think
that he's in trouble.
Because he's black.
He's in trouble, but is it because he's black? Are they picking on him?
I mean, the previous mayor went to jail, and he was white. So clearly it's not a case of racism to my view.
Irving, what do you make of those?
Well, it just so happens I have some money here was donated to charity. I bet a guy in the parking lot, you know. It's amazing that when they have the tapes, Albert Black has nothing to gain other than a lousy zoning permit for a gas station that
he hasn't got yet.
Which he has. Oh well, allegedly he got it. Now you've got two councilmen that want to prevent him from getting it because it was gained illegally. Now these two councilmen who are defending Usry admit that Usry is innocent. However, he said it was gained illegally because it was a payoff. This whole thing in Atlantic City boggles my mind. I'm going to the slot machines and play that.
Brian, what do you think?
I think it's a weak attempt by supporters.
It's a Republican, remember.
I know,
a Republican.
And I judge him as I see him, not by their party label. I know Jim Usry. I think Jim Usry, I've always thought Jim Usry before, and to be honest with you, I don't have any knowledge of the situation here. He always appeared to me as a very honorable guy.
Was he qualified to be the mayor of Atlantic City, Brian?
Are you qualified to be a talk show host? I mean, what the hell? What can I tell you? Is
I
he
have
qualified?
ratings. I don't get elected. I don't get elected.
He got
we
elected. 51% of the people said.
Is he qualified?
51% of the people said he was qualified.
Carol's going to sort it out. Carol's going to sort this out.
What this is all about is very simple. It just shows us that when black politicians get integrated into the system, they are as liable to be corrupt as white politicians. Crookedness, larceny are equal opportunity employers.
Well, that's actually good, though, isn't it? That there's
yes,
no...
I mean, he can yell racism.
No, I mean, it's good that anybody...
Has his day in court and proves he's innocent. Then we can talk racism. Until then, it's a moot point.
Are you troubled at all by the fact that the community did rally behind him, hundreds of people?
No, 300 people, and how many live in Atlantic City? Let us not overreach. And if we did a poll, would we find the 38,000 think he's guilty and feel the same way we do? Let's not condemn the black community of Atlantic City. Correct. So let's reserve judgment and not say that all of black Atlantic City is supportive of
Okay, so much for Atlantic City. We'll come back in a minute and we will talk about the next mayor of Washington, D.C. You have a minute now to think about who that might be. Inside Story continues.
Crime-fighting weapon. Step 1, reconstruct unsolved crimes at the scene. 2, help identify suspects by broadcasting their pictures. 3, involve the public through rewards, a tip line. And 4...
Call it Crime Fighters with Rob Jennings.
Exactly. What?
Excellent, Watson. But Action News did it first.
Crime Fighters with Rob Jennings. It works. Only on Action News.
Amazing, Holmes.
Action News, my dear Watson.
If you're gossiping about it...
You don't see that every day.
It's on. Donahue.
They've said I do 5 times or more. No kidding. Everybody on the show has been married 5 times or more. Meet an 80-year-old man whose wife is number 27, and she's 17. Why would somebody do this? Meet the marriedest people on earth on the next Donahue.
Be sure to watch Donahue, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Coordinated muscle power. Fantastic precision. Incredibly coordinated muscle control. We're vitally interested in muscle. We're concerned with 40 muscle diseases and over 1 million people who suffer from them. We're research and patient care. We're the Muscular Dystrophy Association. People help MDA. because MDA helps people.
This summer, the play's the thing at the New Jersey Theater Jubilee. Come discover the excellence of New Jersey's professional theater companies with free performances at Rutgers-Camden's Fine Arts Theater, August 10th through September 3rd. From Shakespearean drama to Broadway musicals, the Jubilee brings you the best of New Jersey theater absolutely free. To reserve your tickets, call 1-800-412-1999. The Jubilee is presented by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, Department of State.
Marion Barry, the mayor of Washington, D.C., has had some problems, a little run-in with the law, sort of, an involvement maybe with a drug dealer. So Jesse Jackson talks about running for mayor of Washington, D.C. Last week, he moves back home to Washington and says he's not going to run.
Plans to run for the mayor of the District of Columbia. I submit to you that the same people in the press who complain about presidential campaigns being too long and too expensive are paralyzing this city with this obsession with who is going to be the mayor.
Now, I may have stepped on a word or two. What he said was that he had no plans to run for mayor. That's Mayor Barry, who's indicated that he does have plans to run again. We're liable to see a clash of the titans here. The key question, I guess, that comes out of all of this is Jesse Jackson not only talking about running for mayor, but talking about statehood for Washington, D.C. I should put a plug in here and say that Chuck Stone, who's not with us today, was one of the early champions of statehood for D.C. Back in the 60s, he was part of a committee that thought that would be a good idea. Mary, what do you think?
I think it's a very good idea. We fought a Revolutionary War that said we should not have taxation without representation. Yet 750,000 citizens of the nation's capital have exactly that. They pay taxes, they fight and die in our wars. Disproportionately in the Vietnam War, they are 47 out of they are third in the nation in numbers of fatalities in Vietnam per capita, and yet they have no representation in our nation's capital. They have no say in what our government does, and that has to stop.
And they should be the 51st state.
Indeed, they should.
Okay, Irving, you think?
I don't think that's the question that I'm going to lose any sleep over, Mark, as to whether or not Washington, D.C. becomes the 51 state or not. But I think, Mary, there are many people in America who feel disenfranchised, and the 750,000 people of Washington, D.C. Probably feel like many other Americans, the homeless, those people that don't have money. I mean, a lot of people feel disenfranchised. It's a strong argument, but it doesn't hold water when you take a look at the overall picture of America. Will it be better for America if Washington, D.C. becomes a state or not? Will those people, is the representation of those people in Washington, D.C. the thing that is holding up the critical problems of this country or not? I don't think so. I think it is a mute argument. I think it's an argument that Jesse Jackson is going to make another campaign about. And for him to criticize the press, a guy who has played the press like a Stradivarius violin all his life, to suddenly pick on the press and say, oh, the press now wants me to get involved with a battle with Marion Barry is enough to make me flip
Brian,
out.
statehood?
No, definitely not. You're right. We fought a revolution for certain things, among them freedom of expression, etc. Soon after that revolution, we decided, though, that we wanted a separate district for the national government. We didn't want it to be in any one state, and we did that for very purposeful reasons. And we took a little bit of land from Maryland, a little bit of land from Virginia, and we said this was going to be the District of Columbia. And we said the rules here are that they'll have a mayor and some other things, but that the Congress will provide their funds, etc. They've done very well by that. Let me tell you something.
Of course, very few people lived there in those days, right? They used to go for a few months and go away.
But all those people have moved there, or their ancestors moved there, and they can easily move outside of that area. And there's a national purpose for having that as a separate district, and I don't think those that moved in the last 30 or 40 years...
I would not expect you, Brian, to think this is a good idea, because the chances are, if D.C. became a state, we'd have 2 more Democratic senators and Democratic congressmen.
In a minute.
Which is probably the reason... Which is probably the reason that Jesse Jackson would like it to be a state, because maybe he would like to be the senator.
Just a minute. You made that a racial issue?
Indeed it is. I submit to all of my colleagues that had those 750,000 people, if they were white, they would have been a state long ago. But somehow the image of 2 black senators and 1 black congressman from voting, with voting privileges, from the District of Columbia, I think has been one of the major barriers to achieving statehood.
Chuck Stone agrees with you. He's not here, but he's...
I disagree. That has been, the District of Columbia has been the district for about 180 years. It's only in the last 20 years that there's been a black majority in that city.
That's not true.
And for 160 some years, that it wasn't until after the Roosevelt era that it really became
Well,
black
would it be
majority.
possible?
And it was never...
Would it be possible, if they said as citizens really want to belong to a state, to annex the property back to either Virginia or Maryland?
Well,
is that an option
move the
in any
capital
way?
into a state.
Why should the capital not be its own state?
So much for the news, so much for the news. Now it's time to get personal. It's time for everybody's personal inside story of the week. Little something that may have happened that folks are interested in. Mary Herdig, what's yours?
Mine is another Washington, D.C. story. A great big hooray to the U.S. Congress, who last night voted to reject an attempt to restrict public funding for the funding of abortions for poor women in Washington, D.C. It's the first time since 1980 that the House has refused to restrict money for abortions.
And the President has promised to veto it.
Correct. And it is not veto-proof by the vote.
No.
But it is a first step, and I hope that the U.S. congressmen, in their wisdom and their courage and their right-thinkingness, that the state legislators around this nation will follow suit.
Irving, your inside story.
My inside story is about Philadelphia. For all of you people out there who write bad checks, you can be prosecuted criminally or make restitution. So no more bad check writing for all of you people who don't know how to balance your checkbook.
Now, how does that work?
Well,
Give us more.
You give a bad check, you can be...
You overdraw the account.
You overdraw the account, and it's possible that you can be charged criminally for issuing a bad check.
Oh, I got to warn my wife, Brian.
That's right, so be alert.
Your
My
inside story.
First of all, Irv, you won't deposit that way then until next
No,
week.
I'll hold your check, Brian.
My inside story, we're talking about, there's been a lot of talk about the Sixers, and it's been Camden versus Philadelphia, and Spectacor doing battle force against Camden. Well, if you happen to notice this past week, a new development was approved for Camden this week. And the development partners along the river are Malcolm Latham. For those of you who practice Trivial Pursuits, he was the guy who ran for DA against Ed Rendell in '77, and his partner is Spectacor to do a new hotel development on the Camden side. So at least the people in Camden know that it's not that Spectacor doesn't like you, it's just that they want the Sixers and their development too.
Working both sides of the river.
Both sides of the river. I like that.
Carol, last word.
My inside story this week is a tribute to the American entrepreneurial spirit. Not long ago, the Supreme Court said that it was within our constitutional rights that we could burn the flag. And right after that, some very smart businessman in Texas began to advertise a special retardant, a flame retardant, that he could spray your flag and protect it for the lifetime of the flag. So I guess that means we have to go back to burning our bras.
Put that beside the piece of the Iron Curtain that they sold you in Hungary here a couple of weeks ago, and you got the perfect package there for a little Christmas present. Thank you all. Good show. We'll see you again next Sunday morning, same time, 9:30. Inside Story. Have a good week. Entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well. There was a cartoon in
I always do the serious
Conservative magazine, the National Review.
What happened?
Oh, yes, all that.
It's very good. Why would he give an order?
No.
I mean, I don't...
It's a law. Let's assume the Constitution.
is it? Oh, is it? Okay.